so when I start out and I look at the beginning of every year, and we're still at the beginning of the year, I always try to come up with where have we been and where do we need to go to. And I'm not even gonna start with where we've been at this point. I'm gonna start to change about what we've done. So first question I have for you is, who has an active website? Okay, all of you. Who puts stuff on their website every day? One person. Okay, all right, one person, okay. Who puts stuff on their website once a week? 2 people, 3 people, 4 people. Once a month. Once a year. Okay, I think the rest of you are fibbing, because not all of you had your hands up, okay? The trick to this is, this goes back from as long as I can say this. Google is not in business to promote your business. Does everybody know that?
What?
Or I know, it's shocking, isn't it? You would have thought, okay? So there's a whole set of behaviors as business owners that we have to have, whether we're responsible for the marketing for a business or we are actually the business owner. But there is a whole set of behaviors that we have to have in order to start to fall into what they need done. So I talk a lot about Google. Does anybody want to tell me why I talk about Google, just so we all know why I'm saying this?
Because it drives everything.
Take a guess.
They run everything.
It's got 80 to 85%. I just saw a number, it was like almost 90% of all search traffic. So when somebody has a question, they go out, they look on Google. Now, someday I'm gonna sit down and write a post that says that Google is the magic 8-ball of the world. All of us in the room are pretty much old enough to remember the magic 8-ball. You'd ask it a question, shake it, and it'd say unlikely, highly likely, all of it. That's what Google has become, okay? But the question is, how do we fit our businesses into it? And what do we have to do to get the recognition, to get the traffic, to get the potential customers, and how do we bring them to our door? And that's always what I'm thinking. For the better part of 21 years, I've always been thinking about how do I get traffic to my customer sites? How do I get traffic to my own business? And what do I need to do that? And it's a set of behaviors. I wrote this on the board here because this is the essence of where we are. I'm gonna try to hit on each one of these. I specifically have this not truly. You notice it's not truly 25, 25, 25. It's more like 30, 30, 20, 20. That was intentional on my part. I'm not an artist. I just want to mention that. My drawing skills are 0, okay? But if you look, the bottom half is a little bit more than the top half, okay? And there's a reason for that. We live in an age that it's very difficult to tell who and what is the truth. Whether we're talking about the news, whether we're talking about the Astros, whether we're talking about, I don't know, a bologna sandwich. You cannot tell what is truth and what is fact and what is not anymore, okay? And Google, about a year ago, give or take, has made a concerted effort to start down a road that helps find and figure out who are real, and they're looking for certain signals and certain behaviors. Part of the reason, and people ask me why I do what I do with these centers, I always have had a loftier goal, which I think that there's probably more pretenders in the digital media space, in the web design space, that people say they know and they sound smarter than you, so therefore you think they do, but they really don't. They just know more than you did, which is probably a low bar, and you're just they're a little bit more. There's so much fakeness out there that I kind of set about. I've been doing this with these centers since 2003. I started a course to go ahead and put those out there to educate businesses so they knew what they needed, how to pick that person, and how to get that person that was going to do effective digital marketing and not just do IV digital marketing, which is an IV into your bank account to their bank account, okay? So there is 2 sides of that, all right? So that's partly why I do what I do. But in later years, the credibility, which you notice I have that written there, that I have gained in the marketplace from being a speaker at these type of events has been astronomical. Not so much because of you and not even so much because of me, but more because Google sees that signal that my name is everywhere. If you Google me now, it is everywhere. I started on that path in 2007. but they view me as an expert. And each and every one of you need to start to work towards how do we posture your business or what you do for your company to start in that same vein. And what are we gonna do online and how are we gonna act and do that, okay? So there's a couple different ways we need to do that. They are looking for these signals. They are looking for you to be an authority, they are looking for you to be engaging, and they're looking for you to have credibility. And you have to consciously understand and know that so that you can pretty much pivot and get to where they view you that way. So therefore, when they decide who's realtor, who's the better realtor, the guy with the more credibility is gonna come up higher than the guy that never listed a house. So everybody kind of get where I'm going here, so then we can sort of start to talk about each one of them. So I asked everybody who has a website. Who has a website that was built in Wix, Weebly, Web, Squarespace? Okay.
Say that again?
Wix, Weebly, Web, Squarespace. Weebly. Wix, Weebly, Web, Squarespace. Who has a website built in WordPress? Okay, so here's the thing. All of you put your hands up. I have about 7 of you accounted for. There's 35 of you in the room. So let's try this again. Whose website is built in WordPress? All right, that's 5 of you. And whose is built in Wix, Weebly, Web, or Squarespace? That's another 4 of you. So now it's 9. What about the rest of you? You all said you had a website. What's it built in? Okay, all right. All right, hold on. Okay, anybody else want to throw some out at me?
GoDaddy.
GoDaddy tonight, GoDaddy in a box,
Yeah.
point and click. Okay, Wix, Weebly, Web, Squarespace, GoDaddy. Okay, you're now on that pile. All right. Okay, so here's the reason I say that. Those automatic web builders are, I'm gonna use the word bad, and let me tell you a little bit about why they're bad. I have seen people that are able to take those websites and make them rank on Google, but they're people with my ability. They know what to look for, they know how to do it, they know how to manipulate it, and they know how to work it. Your average person walking in off the street using that tool, 94% of those sites are not indexed by Google because they have a flag in them that says, Google, do not index this site. Okay, so that's really a bad circumstance. So you guys that have that, please start to consider other options because you're immediately almost 94% of the time dead in the water. Okay, so I would start with trying to get that piece underdone. Now, those of you that have WordPress, who built it for you or did you build it yourself?
I built mine myself.
I knew that.
Same.
Somebody built it.
I built it.
You built it.
With some
Okay. With some help. Okay. I'm not surprised. Okay. Now, in the WordPress area, WordPress.com or WordPress, I built it myself. Did you build it through WordPress.com or did you build it yourself?
I built it myself.
Very good, because WordPress.com goes in the Wix, Weebly, Web, Squarespace, GoDaddy, and now WordPress.com column. Okay, they're not as bad, which is why I didn't put them in the initial, but they're pretty bad. Mostly because you cannot manipulate your website and do what you need to do to it to make it effectively rank on Google. So I could tell you everything that's in my head and how to do it, you are immediately, 90% of it you can't do just because you're in one of these vehicles. All right, so I wanna kind of start with that piece there for food for thought. Your website, it needs to look fantastic, but it also needs to be right under the hood, okay? So what I mean when I say that, and Google's looking at these aspects, okay, and I don't want to get too, because I could talk on just this piece for like 3.5 hours, so I'm kind of going fast, all right? There's elements that need to be on your page, so everybody write this down because I'm going to give you important information. You need to have header tags on your page. You need to have an H1 on your page, just one. Anything else from there is, I'm going to use the word acceptable, but try to order it down. So the H1 are like the old headlines, okay? So an H1 that's really big signifies to Google, this is what this page is about. So I had one yesterday, I'm trying to think, what did they tell me? Go ahead, did you have a question?
So it's Google searching the H1 tag.
They're looking for the H1s and they're looking for
That's
keywords. I ended up yesterday, I looked at one yesterday and it had no keywords in it. And I actually flipped it sideways, put the keywords in it and still kept the same meaning. Look to try to put your major, most important keyword in the H1 tag, please. Go ahead. Is that clear? Okay. All right, that's really super important. It should be at the top of the page where all good headlines belong, okay? From there, go with subheadings. If you have your subheadings and you just want to use twos, that's fine. If you have two set points of emphasis and you want to use an H2 and an H3, that's fine. Part of the thing is with those builders, they allow the H1s and the H2s, but they're being used as design elements and not necessarily SEO elements, which is why Google went all the way back to the beginning of the internet and started reinvigorating the use of the H1 tag, okay? So just make sure we kind of have one H1 on every page and it has your keyword in it. And the keyword is not click here, because I see that quite a bit, okay? Or buy now, that's not a keyword either. What you do is what should be there, or what you hope to achieve from that page is what should be there, okay? And I'm still trying to think of what it was. It was really a great, the page is on, it was on lighting products. And the way it was, they just put a lighting information in the H1 tag. So I went back and I said, optical framing projector LED lighting information is what I changed it, because what we sell is optical framing projectors. So just by saying lighting information, well, that could be a light switch at Lowe's. Okay, that's not an optical framing projector. So I had to just move the words around and make my H1 make better sense to Google, because they're like talking to a child, if you will. If you think about it that way, you're not gonna go use big words when you talk to a child. Well, in the same thing, we used to have to use certain language conventions to tell them what we do and how we do it, and this is one of them. The next thing is, in these softwares, they all have this, but this is the next most important thing. Title tags. And tell people what you do, not who you are, unless you're Exxon. And I didn't hear anybody tell me they're Exxon in the room. So you never lead with, what's the name of your company? Dulcie D Beauty? Yeah. Okay, don't lead with Dulcie D Beauty. The only reason I know this on is your shirt. Okay, do you sell beauty supplies?
I do.
Okay, so you want to say beauty supplies by Dulcie D Beauty. Do you understand what I just did? Mm-hmm. Don't start with who you are unless you are a brand. Okay, and I actually am getting to a point where I have a brand, I still don't start with my own name or my company's name. Okay, and I think that's one of the things that the small business owners struggle with a lot, is you guys walked out of a corporate America, you want to tell people the name of your company, you think it's important. Google don't care, because remember I said they're not in business to rank you. If you want to tell them the name of your company, please buy AdWords. That's their position on it. Okay, so when you write your title tags, even on your homepage, make sure you put in there what you do. Okay, and everybody needs to go home and check this on every page on their website without fail. Okay, because I guarantee you, this is what else I see: home, about us, services, and maybe contact us. Now, if I walked in a room and I said those 4 things to you, what do I do for a living? Can anybody tell me? Okay, so again, thinking like a child to a person, that's a great example of what not to do. But I guarantee you're gonna go home and you're gonna say, my About Us page says About Us. Okay, yeah, you can't, About Us, you can actually use your company name if you want. You could put the best beauty supply in Houston. Her name's on her shirt, that's why I'm using that. Just so we know. That way I remember what her name is.
Thought you were clairvoyant.
Huh? No, not at all. And then the rest of you that got little tiny print, I can't read it, so I can't, that's why I'm not calling your businesses out. Just hers is like this. So, okay, so we kind of understand what I'm saying on the title tag. Look at every page on your website, look for what the title is, and make sure it is written in a way that tells Google what you do. Now notice what I didn't say is stuff keywords in the title tag. Nobody heard me say that, right? Okay, so what I don't want you to do is go home and write beauty supplies, hair rollers, curling irons, Houston, Texas, Woodlands, Texas, all in your title tag. You got 64 characters. Make them count. Okay, that's another thing, you should be writing that down. That was really important. Okay, I tend to be like the Cliff Notes and asterisk, what you should have written down. Okay, that one you should have written down. All right, so that's the basic tenet of every page on your website. All right, the other thing is your homepage. Now, I want to ask you about this. Who has a homepage that actually has a table of contents on the homepage that says, my website is about, and I'm going to use the art lighting guy for just a second. His website, his homepage has 3 boxes. It says we do art lighting, cabinet lighting, and cove lighting. Who has a direction on the homepage of their website that tells people what they do? So I got 2 out of 35.
I'm sorry, I'm confused.
Yes, go ahead.
You're saying who tells people what they do on their homepage, or?
A little of both, okay? Some people write a mission statement on their homepage. Some people tell me, I don't know, I've got one person that they've got a whole big letter from somebody. I'm like now trying to wean them off of that. But they're like, this letter must stay there. Okay, nobody's reading the letter, just want you all to know that. We'll just start with that, okay? It ain't happening. All right, but on your website, and preferably the first thing you have is basically your services, but what you do. I mean, so for me, web hosting, digital marketing, SEO, that's what's on the front of my website. That's the first thing you hit. So, because not only does the end user, that's the first thing they hit, guess who else hits it first? Google. So if I put what I do way at the bottom, okay, what am I telling them? What am I telling everybody? It's not important because you're not going to scroll down there, okay? I'm working one now a little bit for an Italian travel agency. I literally took the trip types they have, honeymoons, group travel. I literally put them on the home page with pictures. I made it look nice, but it's on the home page so people know and they can hit that home page and navigate. Okay, the other thing is, ideally, when somebody looks for honeymoon, I want them to land on the honeymoon page. So if I use the front page of my website and point the front page of my website to the honeymoon page, what is Google gonna point to? A honeymoon page. But you can't have that happen without structuring the homepage properly. Okay, there's some other things that you need to do, and that's a whole other thing unto itself. But at least if you do some of these basic things right, you said, which one of you had your hands up over here that you did it? So you have boxes on your homepage that say what you do? All right, that's good. You're 1 of 35 again. So this is, again, a small percentage. So everybody needs to go home and look at your homepage, see what's on it, and see what we can do to add something on there that says, you don't say, hey Google, but hey Google, this is what we do. This is a service. An accountant, bookkeeping, tax services, small business accounting, any variation thereof. You need properties and property locations because you don't have your properties are your products, so you need properties and property locations.
So if Google finds home, about us, and contact us so generic, then what should we use?
Well, first of all, about what'd you say? Home, contact us. Those are fine, but under your services, mine. And this is not about any of my people. Like the Italy vacation guy, his doesn't say services. It says Italy vacation packages, because he sells Italy vacation packages. He doesn't sell services. All right, so he says that. The guy that's the lighting guy, his says LED lighting. It's what it says, because he's got specific, and then underneath it breaks it down. I never use the word services, ever. If I can avoid it, I mean, I have had customers insist that they must use the word services. I often wonder, but I mean, I'm not gonna argue them down to that point, but please, that's not the right way to do it. And they're looking at your navigation, your homepage, your title tag, and your H1 tag, and they're matching those. And if they all match, you now get a boost. Go ahead.
So I have a question, since my audience is parents, and most of them are Spanish, I have to find something that's can translate well, both in English and Spanish.
Okay.
So how do I do that as well as,
What do you do with parents?
I provide education services for them,
To teach them what?
to teach them how to support their child in education. education from K through 12.
Okay, I'm still trying to pull out what the keywords are, because you have yet to tell me what you do. See, this is the and I don't mean this badly, this is the mistake, okay? Does anybody in the room know what this lady does yet?
Tutoring.
Huh?
Tutoring.
Ah, is that what you do?
I tutor them.
Okay, she did not say that, did she?
No.
Okay. You tutor parents?
Tutor, coach, however you want to put it.
Okay, so you're a parent coach. Okay, well, there you go. That's what that should be there. And that can translate into Spanish just as much as it can. You have an interesting situation too, because if I was gonna try to put a Spanish website up and I lived in Omaha, Google would not do that. But down here, they'll actually give you a Spanish and an English listing in Google in the search engines, which is unique. You usually have to be in the country of the language, of the native language, but they seem to understand that down here, this part of the country, it's beneficial to run it both. So, but yes, put the right words. Same principles, same practices, okay? A personal injury attorney. You can put, I don't know, my Spanish is not very good, but when we put, what is it, abuelo's like aunt, but whatever you lawyer, abogado, whatever a lawyer is, I'm not really good at Spanish, okay? So just want to point that one out, all right? But when we put that in there and we were able to get our pages ranking on personal injury attorney in Spanish just as well as we were in English, because Google understands that. All right, so don't be afraid to put it there, and don't be afraid to put both of them there. Don't be afraid to say, this is my Spanish parent tutoring section, and put it there. All right, don't think you're over-educating anybody, but don't do what you just did to me when I asked you what you did and use all these words. Because you said nothing, although the back of the education department in the back of the room seemed to have got it, you know, I mean, but that's because you do what she does. Google is a search engine, and Google went through, just to scare the heck out of everybody, in 2013, they went through and defined every word in the English language according to Google. So no matter what I think the word is, I need to know what Google thinks the word is. Otherwise, I'm dead in the water. And I often use the painter and the artist, because when I say painter, Google says that's a house painter. Well, I think Monet is also a painter. I think Thomas Kinkade made a whole business being the painter of light. So why Google says you can only be a painter if you paint houses is a little not right to me. But hey, it's their world, we just live in it, okay? So we just have to kind of understand what they say. So all that talking you did, you're a tutor, according to those two in the back. So, all right? Everybody's kind of with me on that, right? Okay, so make sure you have these benchmarks. This is like some of the technical aspects of the website. Make sure your website is HTTPS. I still keep finding websites that are HTTP. It's another, they'll give you some points off. Make sure, I keep finding this too, make sure your website's mobile friendly and that it actually is mobile friendly, that you went and looked it up and saw that it was mobile friendly, not that somebody told you it was, so therefore you think it is. All right, yes, sir?
This might be a silly question, but what's the difference between HTTP and HTTPS?
Okay, it's a good question. Okay, so when you connect to a server, this is gonna be a little technical, but there's different ports it connects on. When you tell it HTTP, it's not scrambled and it connects on an unscrambled port. When it connects on HTTPS, it basically goes over what's called an encrypted channel. The words are scrambled, the keys issued on the sending server, it's reassembled on the receiving server. So it secures it. Google went through, I guess it's been a good 3 or 4 years now. Time kind of keeps going so fast I can't tell how much time has gone by. But they went through about 4 years ago and they told everybody that they have to be HTTPS now. And I'm going to tell you, my personal opinion is they did this so they could pass your data, because they went to a judge over this privacy issue and the judge says, well, you're passing stuff in securely. So they just made the whole internet secure itself so that they could pass your data in a secure manner and they couldn't be sued. That's just my opinion. That doesn't mean I'm right, but that just seems to kind of fit, but that they required the whole internet to go HTTPS, okay? And that way they can securely pass your data around the internet. Yes,
It's
sir?
amazing, there's still so many even big sites
That
that
are
are
not.
HTTP.
Yeah, that or not. Everybody has to be HTTPS. There's points for it. You know, sometimes back in the early days when I used to teach this, I'd teach this and say like it was like ice skating, boxing. okay? They're two sports that when you do something, you get a certain amount of points for it. Google kind of is the same thing. The person with the most points gets the #1 spot. So how are you gonna do these things that are gonna get you to the #1 spot? And that's just a simple point thing that I can do just by simply, most of the hosting companies now, it's free. It's not really used to be a couple $100 a year. It wasn't cheap, but now most places it's free. It comes with the hosting plan, and that's what it is. So it shouldn't be a big deal. It should be transparent. All of us guys with old websites have a problem. You know, Miguel, as you asked me that question, the SBDC is not. It always comes up and says that it's not secure, and it gives me something, there's an element somewhere that's broken on it. As you're asking me that question, somebody at your IT department needs to check on that.
Good to know.
It's just, and it did it to me again this morning and came up and said it, and I was like, I probably should tell somebody, but I don't know exactly who to tell what to do, and sometimes they get mad if I tell them, so don't make them mad at me, okay? But yeah, so it was on if you go to longstar.edu, is something on it is coming up because it's not going to the secure. How you know is you get the little padlock. Okay? If you don't have a little padlock, it means it's not encrypted. If you're just telling somebody about your day, I guess it's not really all that important. If you're taking a credit card, it's extremely important. Okay? So we understand the differences between the two. Okay? Go ahead.
Do you have any recommendations for hosting that? Like with GoDaddy, the reason I selected it is because I'm not technical in any.
How do I answer that, people in the back? Karen, how do I answer? I can't answer that question right now.
Okay.
I'll answer that later. How about that? Okay. So, maybe I'll give you all a background about who I am when we're done. Anyway, go ahead, shoot.
So like we talked about like tag words, I guess. So does the
No, don't call them tag
What
words.
is it?
That is a completely different animal.
Well,
Keywords.
Okay. Does the location need to be?
Yes,
there?
all right, that's an excellent question. I think it depends on what the objectives are for your business, all right? Now, I'm gonna answer your question in a roundabout sort of way because it answers her question. I have two businesses. One is a national hosting company, and the other is a local marketing company. So my national hosting company, the word Houston, does not appear in any title tags. It doesn't appear in any things that we do because we're actually an international company on that side.
Okay.
On the local side, everything says Houston, 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 because I'm in Houston. So whatever your objectives are for your business, I have the title tag on SEO 411 says something like Houston SEO web design something. So it even started with Houston, so it reinforced that we were in Houston. The headline on the page says plans for Houston or packages for Houston. So I have Houston throughout. If you look at SEO 411, just go look at it with that eyeball, you'll see that Houston's on that page multiple times.
So is that two different websites?
I have two different websites that are handled in two dramatically different ways because they're two dramatically different customer bases, locations, and even services.
So what if you have two in the same business? So
Well, all right, so the first thing you would never have is two in the same business. So that stops that one right there. No, there is people out there that recommend, like, I'm gonna be, I don't know, Lightmaker Woodlands, lightmakerhouston.com. Please don't do that. It's kind of passe and it really doesn't work
well,
anymore.
I mean for servicing. So like
I may have a web page on my website that says I service this area, but I don't have two websites.
right. Well, that's what I was saying. If you do like I have two components to the business, which one is like supplies, and that's kind of going to be national, like national in different states, and then one is servicing like cosmetology.
All right, I got you. So what I would do with you is decide where you were gonna make your most amount of your money. If I was gonna go back and look at something on the hosting side of this business, I can put local concepts on there and optimize for local on the national site. On the local site, to try to bring that back to national starts to get very hard. So it's just, you need to hang out with us more.
Okay.
All right, because that's a very complex problem that you have, and how's the best way to sell it. I would say put it all on website and make the local services as a local service, and that's how I would do it, just spitballing it off the top of my head. Okay? So is anybody, like, you're a realtor. Where are you a realtor? All right, so your website needs to say Northwest Houston on it because that's where you are. You can't sell a house in Panama, right?
Right.
Okay, see, so you would not put international concepts on that because you can't actually do that. So is everybody kind of understanding you gotta make the determination of what you sell locally, what you sell nationally, and then there's actually things, that's a whole subset onto itself. I'm gonna throw this out here, because just to make sure I'd say this, but who has a Google My Business account? Okay, see, I gotta tell you, 35 people in the room and 5 people raise their hand. Everybody's gonna go home and go do this, you ready? Google.com/business, and you're gonna follow the instructions, all right? Everybody must have a Google My Business account, period, end of story. That is not negotiable on any level, okay? You're left out behind if you don't do it, all right? So google.com/business, follow the on-screen prompts, and try to fill the information out as best as you possibly can.
What if you're a virtual business?
Don't care, go home, there now have service areas. I know what you're asking me, don't care. Go home and fill it out. Sorry, I can't help it. Anybody else wanna ask that question? Michelle's fine, she knows how I am by now. You okay with that? You can go home and fill yours out?
I'm glad she asked, because it was my question, but you said it was non-negotiable, so I didn't ask it.
Go ahead.
So the Google My Business listing, I love it, I get lots of business off of it. If you don't do it, follow her advice, do it. But is that the way around, Google finding you versus your GoDaddy website or Weebly website?
It can be if you do it right. They are looking for signals off that website. But let's say you have a weak website, but you're all over the place, you use your Google My Business account properly, you can get around your a bad website that way, but you really gotta know what you're doing with it.
Because I linked back to my website.
Yes, you should put the website link, you should be putting posts, you should be putting pictures, there's oodles and oodles and oodles and oodles of stuff that need to be done on that thing, okay? But let me give you some statistics, because I get up here sometimes and I say things and people are like, but there really is no but when I say something. I don't mean that badly. The reason there's no but is because I kind of got the numbers in my head. So when you have a map situation show up, anybody want to guess how much of the traffic goes to a map listing, to the first 3 in the map pack? Take a guess, just a random guess.
70%.
More.
Like 95.
Like 90 to 95%.
I'm sorry, I'm not clear on what you're saying.
So when you go, let's use a thing that we all do. Restaurant near me, and they go, bling, here's a map with the first 3 restaurants on it. Everybody goes, picks that. All right? If I go dentist near me, bling, those are the first 3 to come up. Those are the people who are getting the traffic. Lawyer, doctor, dentist, accountant, you name it. If it has a location and a map added to it, that's getting 95% of the traffic. So all this big discussion becomes about nothing if that map is on there and you need to know to attack that. I taught a class a few weeks ago. There's about 7 different Google landing pages now that you have to actually understand to know how to have your site interact with it. They're not all the same, and now that I say that, you'll start to see it and you're gonna go, yeah, that lady's right, there is. Some have added stuff to them, some have news to them, some have a map on them, some have vacations on them, some have an encyclopedia listing on them. I think I counted about 7 different layouts. And you have to know, in order to be able to get on that page, you have to know what the layout you're targeting is. Now, I'm giving you things up here that if you did them right, I'm gonna assume that they're the people in your space, you have a really good chance of succeeding, even because if you're competing with a whole bunch of people that have no idea what I just said, you're gonna and you do it, you're just gonna naturally succeed, just because it's kind of like the broke clock, right, twice a day, blind squirrel finds a nut thing, okay? No offense, but I mean, that's really what it comes down to. So even if you did nothing but what I said, you're gonna give yourself an edge, okay? Which is kind of where I'm going with that. But the Google My Business, without it, you're gonna lose every one of those map packs because you won't be there. So 90% of the traffic, you have no ability to even be visible in that query. And that to me is not acceptable for a small business owner, which is why I say, I understand your plight. They have service areas now that are not necessarily hooked to your address.
You can hide your address?
Yes, you can, but here's the problem with this. They're looking for the geographic center, and then they move outward in concentric circles. So if you hide your address, guess where you are? Nowhere. All right? There's ways around it. Again, there's ways around it, but in a room like this, those start to get into these little nuggets of how do I tackle an individualized problem. So use the service areas. They allow it now, use that. Her first, then you. Go ahead.
What if you have multiple locations? I use Google My Business for a single location, but the company I'm with now, we just opened a second location and I'm not really sure.
So there's a group location function, find it and use that. So you can put them all together. So like, I now have 2 offices for my business, I group them together, they understand they're the same business. A lot of what I do on one comes back to the other one. What's interesting now is, thanks to my awesome customers, I had some of them add reviews to one office that they didn't add to the other office, so now Google's kind of trying to treat them as different, so I'm trying to solve that problem now. But the good news is, both of them have traffic, they have different traffic, they're coming from the geographic center of wherever they are. So if you're on the Galleria side, you get the Galleria office. If you're on the north or the northwest side, you get the Kingwood office. So it's working itself out, but it's just been a little bit. So yes, there's a group in Google, how do I group properties in Google My Business, and that'll get you started. Go ahead.
Kind of a variation on that. What if you're looking at the whole metropolitan area and you're independent of closed-in locations? To give you a wild example, Amazon.
All right, Amazon's not a local business.
That's what I'm saying. It's independent of any particular
So
site.
that would not be part of this search. This is literally places where people go. Sales office in Houston, restaurant near me, movie theater near me. These are localized searches. These are not national retailers. The national retailers do not get a localized location on their pages.
Well, maybe another, and I realize that. How about somebody like a mortgage lender?
Okay,
Like Rocket Mortgage is in Detroit.
okay.
Somebody here might use Rocket Mortgage as compared to a mortgage broker or a bank down the street.
Okay. So
if you're competing in that environment.
So then Rocket Mortgage needs to have a localized office and then compete in the environment down here. If they don't, they're not gonna be in the search. I mean, it's kind of that, you have to be local to be, they're not gonna give you, cause your Rocket Mortgage, give you a spot in a local map. Now, we work with Dish Network. We literally put a local page up for every zip code in Texas, which was like 300 or 400 pages, all right? Made individualized pages for that. But again, that's somebody that knows what they're doing versus somebody that doesn't. Please don't everybody go make a page for every zip code in your business. Okay, let's not do that. So these are those questions that, well, and if you had Rocket Mortgage's money, it's much easier to solve than I have her with 2 businesses here in 2 locations here in Houston, right? You're not Exxon again, right? All right, you get the difference. So every one of these circumstances, part of the reason I ask you these in the room is because every circumstance becomes different. Okay, how you handle something for one business this is another thing I often say. Websites are like children, and anybody that has like multiple children understands this. You get the quiet one, you get the mouthy one, you get the one that doesn't listen, you get the difficult one, you get the easy one, you get the shy one. Websites are all the same. Okay, they have the same situation, they're just like children, every one of them has different problems, different attributes, and have to be handled individually. You cannot just say, even lawyer, like everybody goes, oh, I wanna work for a lawyer and lawyer websites, great, they're all different. Because who was there before and how they're handled today, and it's just, everything has to be looked at and evaluated based on that particular business. And you know what? The other thing that has to be evaluated is how much work are you willing to put into it, okay? Because I have to look at, even with my customers, I have to look at the business owners themselves and decide, are you gonna do what I'm asking you to do? And if you're not, I have to put a plan in place. Like somebody, who's too busy to do anything on their website? When I asked them every day, I had only one person put their hand up. Why did the rest of you not put your hands up? Seriously, it's a serious question. I'm asking the question.
Busy.
Too busy.
Time.
All right, so I have to evaluate, and you have to evaluate what is your ability to put up a page every day. And if that's not in your model, you need to drop back and punt and figure out what's the next thing to do, because I need to build authority, I need to build credibility.
Can you do that by just posting weekly? Like,
If
mean,
you're
every
really
day is
good
different.
at it, okay? And what I mean when I say that, that stuff you post weekly needs to be killer. That people are waited with anticipated breath to hear what your next sentence is gonna be, okay? If they're not, that needs to, then you have to do either a better job. I had a lot of marketing people in here. I'm gonna assume everybody has a good handle on writing. I'm not gonna have a whole bunch of people that tell me they don't know how to write. Because I've walked into classes like that too, and people don't want to write. And then I'm trying to give them cell phone lessons, so at least I can get them to talk to their cell phone and make a page of content. I don't have that problem in this room by the amount of marketers I heard in it. Do we agree with that statement? Okay, so you guys should be a little bit ahead on how am I going to put together something that's killer. I'm going to go you one better on this. So when I do this now, what I do is, I don't know, but I gave Michelle my cell phone so she can film this. And I'm gonna take this, and there's excerpts within it, and I'll take out those pieces, and I will put a piece of content that matches that. So I have a 2 or 3 minute video on something that's contained in this, and put an article along with it, or a blog post along with it that's supporting. Somebody told me you're now doing podcasts. I heard that as I'm doing it. Who's doing a podcast? Okay, we've got one person in the room. I'll tell you what I asked Santa Claus for Christmas, a podcast microphone, because in my head, I now need to start doing podcasts. I need to start putting that out there. I keep trying to debate what to do with all the classes I teach and how I want to do that, but that's all free information that you need to be putting up there. But I'm going to tell you right now, Google doesn't understand that, and the other problem that, I'm going to say this, and no, you know why I'm thinking, what I'm thinking is that I don't know that I've ever seen this in print that this is not right, but I feel in my heart it's right. So let me say it this way. Google understands when English is a second language. So when you write an article, and at first I didn't understand this, but those of you that are fluent in second languages, the word order is different. And sometimes you find yourself writing that same, I'm going to use the word awkward but I don't necessarily mean it. For English, it's awkward. Word order. Well, Google understands that, and they go, aha, written by a person that English is not their first language. X, off to the trash you go. All right? So, and it's not that extreme, but I want you to understand that and because a lot of the times what was done was people in other countries were used to write content and they did it cheaply. So there's a thing in there that looks for those determinations. If I took the transcript of this video and just let it play out and made made an audio transcript and put that as my content, I don't think it's gonna rank as well. Because they're gonna understand that that's spoken language, or that it's awkward, or it's not written. And oral language is much different than written language. So this is like a linguistics thing, but understanding that, I'm going to take this and I'm going to put something underneath it that's going to explain what I'm saying, not just the transcript of what I'm saying. Now, in lieu of nothing but that video, put the transcript. But I'm going to tell you, if you're going to go through the trouble of making a video and editing the video, it's kind of foolhardy to just put a transcript of the video up there, okay? So everybody kind of because they know it's not a well-written page, because it's not written, it's an oration. Is everybody catching what I'm saying? Okay, there was a hand over here, go ahead.
So you were talking about, posting content daily, so.
I'm being extreme, but go ahead.
Okay. So is that kind of where a feed from Instagram or Facebook comes in?
No.
On the website? Or
No.
Actually going into pages and posting new content?
Yes, okay, so here's the thing, all right, so let's kind of come back to my circle here. We talked a lot about the web and the technical aspects of it. Other three kind of go with each other, okay? Every day, what do you tell me, I have a 5-minute warning? Oh, dude, we're running out of time here, kids. Okay, yeah, I know, this could go on for hours.
Yeah, it's 9:30.
Oh, okay, sorry about that.
So we have 30 more minutes, okay, all right. They want every minute.
We will go to 9:30, that's great. We'll wrap up at around 9:20, we'll do our door prizes and
Gotcha, all right.
get your questions in.
Okay, so we were saying, okay, every day versus, the way you're gonna build that authority is to tell people what you think. You're gonna build an audience of what you think. To put up Instagram,
Or a blog?
no, we're conflating, don't conflate, okay, and I'll explain why. Okay, so Instagram is a little different because it's extremely visual, so her could put up beauty pictures every day and it be relevant to building a customer base and an audience that's relevant to what she does, because she's beauty supply. So she could say, I cut my hair this way, I dyed my hair purple, I've tried this ponytail. She could go on every day, eyeshadow color, eyeliner. There's beauty people out there that's all they do on Instagram from sun up to sundown is take pictures of themselves with different eyeshadow. Not something you'll ever find Beth doing, but it's okay, all right? So, but the point of the matter is, that works for that business. Remind me what you do again?
Event decorator.
Okay, so that's something that could work for you because it's a visual aspect of it. Now, if I needed an event decorator, I'm gonna go to Google and I'm gonna put event decorator Houston in. Your Instagram feed is not coming up. So if I wanted to follow you because of what you do, that's one set of methods, but you need to, what are 10 tips that you can give somebody when they're doing party decorations? Should I use balloons for people under the age of 3? Do you do weddings?
I can't, I don't do them often, but yes.
You don't do them often because nobody asked you, or because you don't advertise for it, or
I don't
what's the?
advertise for it.
Okay, because you don't like weddings.
It's the bridezilla.
It's a bridezilla. Okay. All right. Okay. No, that's a fine
I
thing, but
want
I'm.
people to know what they want and. they're
Okay.
not
So
walking around like a
I
person.
would see. I'm a comedian. In case you haven't gotten that far yet. Okay. I would put up a page of 10 reasons I don't like brides at my business. And I would go through and tell, as you're laughing, but you know what you would do? You would get more play for that, which then starts to make you an authority. And it doesn't mean that you need to slam the bride. What you need to do is explain 10 nightmares that happen with a bride, okay? Or how do you avoid a bridal nightmare? You see how I'm taking that and twisting that? Because what I'm doing is I'm adding engagement to that when I do that. All right? And if you saw that go by on Facebook, 10 reasons brides are nightmares, you would go read that just simply because you're wondering, what the heck? All right? I'll tell you, one of the most well-trafficked posts I have ever put up on the internet was called How to Have a Bikini-less LinkedIn Profile. Yeah, see? Nobody understood, and you're all looking at me like, what the heck would you write that for, right? You're all wondering, is everybody wondering? That thing got more engagement because what was happening is people were coming up to me and saying, could you tell me how to build a LinkedIn profile? And I'm really sick of seeing these people in strapless dresses that look like they're wearing bikinis. I was like, there you go. So if you start to look, everybody that wears a cutoff, they wear off the shoulders, or who takes a professional picture with your shoulders sticking out? A lot of people. Apparently, there's enough enough of them out there that this was bothering everybody, okay? So what we did was, I went through, talked about how to do it, but also talked about what is the aesthetics of your profile picture. What does it look like and what does it say about you? If you look like you're going to a nightclub in a cocktail dress with your thing off your shoulders, how do you want somebody to take your business seriously? All right? And there's people that don't agree with that. Fine, don't agree with that. But you know as well as I do, when you're assessing whether to do business with somebody, you're making assessments. So when you do a LinkedIn profile, that whole post, that's all it did, one of the most trafficked posts out there. So don't be afraid to do what I'm saying, but do it in the right. It was more about the headline than it was the content of the post. But it was shared, and it's been trafficked more than any post I think I've ever written. Go ahead.
If a person, to that end, if a person is, if their business is aesthetics, looks, beauty,
Art.
why would they not have a, maybe a glamorous one shoulder, if that's what.
But
they
I don't
want
know
to
that
do.
I would put that on
On
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, yeah.
Because again, who goes to LinkedIn? Well,
Professionals.
professionals.
Right.
Okay, so if you look like you just came out of glamour shots, does that help you a professional? Now, if you're an image consultant, maybe.
Yeah, that's what.
But is it and it depends on what your clientele is. If I'm a 30 or something, but I'm telling you, the director of marketing for a really big company looks like she just crawled out at a bar. I mean, you can't do that. You get, there's a difference, all right? I mean, even me, that's pretty casual, always jeans, always t-shirts. I actually put a jacket on and had a nice shirt on and went and had a reasonable headshot, because I'm a normal person and I want everybody to know that. You might not get that meeting me, but you will get it from a picture. Go ahead.
I just wanted to clarify, so you were saying that you actually did an article, but did you do an article in LinkedIn or on your website?
No, so what I did was that's an excellent question she just asked. Please follow this procedure. Again, this is one of those, I'm gonna say non-negotiable, but this one has some negotiation to it, okay? What I do is I write an article from my blogs, all right? I've got blogs on both of the websites that I run that are mine, and I write them. I then take them and put them on LinkedIn and Twitter too, because SEO is big on Twitter. But I put them in both places and do that on a regular basis. What I will tell you is that I strike nerves, and usually when I put something on LinkedIn, I actually start getting sales calls. So, but I strike, because I know what you guys are asking me, so when I come back and I make a blog about what people are asking me, inevitably, I end up with sales calls off of it.
So now I've written articles for like an education post, and I share them out on my social media. Can that be the same way?
Well, if you shared those posts the way you talked about your business, they probably don't know what you did. No, take them and put them out off your blog to social media. Always that direction. Do not take them and put them on social media. Does anybody know why I'm saying that? Anybody want to guess? Who owns LinkedIn? You? So when I take something and I put it on LinkedIn and I start the chain from there, you don't own that anymore. You aren't the originating content source for it. And LinkedIn's getting aggressive on what they want to charge for pricing. It seems to be more and more and more. I'm waiting for them to try to say we're going to take it all away. Okay? I would never want to lose my content, so I'm going to start with it on my website and bring it to LinkedIn, never the other way around.
Is it good to share articles that are written about you?
No. And the reason why for that is who gets that credit. See, this is all about, remember I told you it's credibility, authoritative, all of that. Why, we're the origination source. So if somebody in the Houston Chronicle writes about me, the Chronicle gets the credit for that. Now, what Google will say is, there's that Beth Guide in the Chronicle again. She must have some value, but that's not getting me any credibility for my business or my website. And none of it. So no, do not go and take that, because all you're doing is pushing yourself.
So I have
Her first and you.
And we met at the same time.
No offense. I'm
Maybe-
trying to
no,
keep track
maybe
of
the
what
same
order
question,
everybody
the
put
same
your hand.
question.
She keeps doing this. Somebody jumps her and she puts her hand down. So let's go
Okay.
ahead, speak up.
So when you post your blog on LinkedIn, are you publishing it, or are you posting a link to go back to your website?
I'm
Based on
posting
what
back
you're
to my
saying, I'm
website.
thinking,
Always
okay.
start at your own website. Your content is yours. Your brain matter is in that.
Okay.
It's yours. Put it on your own blog. I say that's non-negotiable, I know that I'll get somebody that wants to argue that with me. And I'm sure we could debate it, but at the end of the day, in a class with this kind of an audience, I'm gonna say 100% own your content, keep it where it goes to you, and let's be done with that. And then decide where you're gonna distribute it from your website out to the rest of the world, okay? Her next, and I have the back corner.
So
Michelle?
to go to that same point, there's some authority figures on LinkedIn that actually have said if you have your blog or your postings that you have on your website to copy everything that you had on there and then put it in
I wouldn't be
LinkedIn
opposed to
article.
that, but you're starting to get a little bit more arduous on a small business owner.
I know,
And that's where I don't, if they start following me around the city, we can talk about when that's appropriate to do that. My only problem is in this setting, a lot of these people are gonna walk out and I may or may not ever see them again. So if I can just get them to do the base level right,
Yeah.
they're gonna be a whole lot better than they were. Because if they start to do that and they do it in the wrong order, then
Well, to say your point, being a person who started a podcast the beginning of last year, an entire year of doing a podcast, faithfully every single Thursday at 8 a.m. you get a new post, you get a new email, you get it posted on
See, and
those
it's
social media.
consistency, it's the same
But
time.
I have gotten so much traffic on my website now. I used to have none. I mean, I will tell you, I had none, zero. Nobody came to my website. But now people come to my website. I don't even know who they are. People come to my website and they're listening to my podcast from my website.
All right, so now the only question I have back to you, go one beyond that, is are they calling you for services?
Not
Because
yet.
that's the next piece of that. That's the next, how do I get them to now call you for services? Because, and that's a fine line to walk on that, all right? So just put that in your head somewhere. Because traffic's great, but traffic without money is just traffic. And that's something that I'm trying to get everybody to get that wrapped around their head too. Because for many, many years, and this guy here apparently has known me all the way back to the J-Mock days, okay? We've always talked about traffic. Have we ever talked about dollars? It was always about traffic, right? Because the assumption was it was a numbers game, that if I put enough traffic in the door, if I got 1% in sales off that, it would work. The problem is that the customer now is more sophisticated, and if you almost don't ask for the sale or give them a way to do business with you, they don't make the jump from this is a page of content and this person does this to, hey, I need to call this person because this person does that. So there is a whole nother piece that's creeping into this. It's not about just about traffic anymore. So, okay, back row had a question. One of you guys back there?
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Did I answer it?
Yep.
Okay, middle row had a question. Okay, I'm answering them faster than you're asking them. I'm like Google, I'm answering the questions before you even get, she hasn't had one yet, and then we'll come back. Go ahead.
Okay, just checking, you were talking about writing, and that could elevate your credibility, and then you said images, but I'm an image-based business, if every week or so I post an
Are
image.
you a graphics person? Okay, but you're not just a image-based business. What you do, because you're selling your services, but really, how do you build the brand? How do you select the right colors? That's where the words come in from. Okay, so from a graphic standpoint, I would say you need both.
Okay.
Talk about the conversion, the colors of conversion, and why do you pick certain colors to go with certain brands? There's so much that you can talk about with graphics that can be done in a spoken way that doesn't necessarily have to be. You need images, don't misunderstand that, but don't think I'm a graphics person, so all I need is images, because that is about as far from the truth. I'm saying her because she's a beauty person. At the same time, she needs to say 10 tips to put your eyeliner on so when you cry it doesn't fall off. I mean, it needs to be stuff like that. Or if there's like a whole bunch that she can do, but if all she did was images to sell eyeshadow or eye makeup or whatever she's selling over there, that's okay, because hers is a little bit different. But from you, who's the other graphics? There's a graphics person on this side of the room. Okay, what makes you different from her? Don't answer that, because it's just not a one pitting against the other. But the thing is, when I'm on the internet and I'm confronted with this, I'm gonna go with the person that actually sounds like they know what they're talking about and that they actually might listen to me, as opposed to the person that's just sticking images, because the interpretation then is, hey, your work is great, but what is the depth and the breadth behind that? Or you just think, hey, my work is great, I'm just gonna put it up there.
So
You get the difference.
You're speaking from a customer side of it. But
Yes.
what about from the Google side of it? Is posting an image just as important?
They can't read the
as-
image. They can't read the image. So unless you're
Not
gonna
like
build a,
bytes or-
huh?
It's not like bytes or, you know. it's
No,
not
no, no,
as-
they can't read the image. They may at some point in the not too distant future, we
So it
may be
has to
having a
be
different.
words.
Yeah, because the words govern it, and then the thing is that the Google reads it, they rank it. The end user does it, they feel comfortable that you know what you're doing, and it's not just, I'm a graphic artist because I know how to use Photoshop. I'm having intelligent conversations with you to make my customers understand that I can help them create the proper graphics and not just, I know how to use Photoshop. There is a definite difference in those two statements, okay? So, all right.
But Google reads the comments that go with that image that she puts on.
Yeah, and I can go say it's anything I want, can't I? It's not always foolproof,
Okay.
all right? So that's a whole nother discussion on itself. Go ahead.
So, on subject of frequency, you asked us who posts daily, who posts weekly, who posts monthly, and then you mentioned that you were kind of over exaggerating about posting every day. So, is there like a good minimum or just kind of a good, you know, that we're not doing too much or too little?
Okay, so Google wants freshness, so let me start with that. And let's say you can only do something every 6 months, okay? They're gonna be like, okay, we know we can't count on them too much. As I say every day, I think it's impossible to do every day in a 1-man or 2-man or 5 people shop. Does anybody of you work for a mid-sized company that said you're a marketing person in that company? No. Okay, those of you that are marketing people, are you in a mid-sized business or are you all in a 3-people small business? Okay, in that kind of a business, that's not viable, okay? Even my own site, if I get a blog post up a quarter, I'm rocking. But Google seems to understand that because the other thing I'm doing is tagging it with events, I'm putting new calendars up. There's always activity on my site. So if you can come up with other ways to put activity there, but they're looking for an active website. They're not gonna rank a website that has zero, any type of, no activity. They don't want that, okay? So, and really, if you think about it, if all I did was put up a website and I let it sit there and there's nothing else added to it ever, what good are you doing the Google user? Because it goes all the way back to the very first thing I said, which is they're not in business to rank your website. Okay, so you have to give their user, their consumer, good verifiable data on a reasonably frequent basis. Even this, even though I don't have a written word, I'm gonna take this, shove this on YouTube and pull it through to my website, okay? The end of the day is, at least I did something. Even though it's not perfect, at least I will have done something. Because then it shows activity. And by tuning it to YouTube, I'm also dinging it through the Google system as well that there's some traction coming off of YouTube. So these are just like tricks and hacks to be able to, this class, when Karen put the flyer up, I went and put it on Google My Business so that Google knew again that they tie my web address to my Google My Business. So the event was sitting on the Google My Business, even though I never kind of formally threw it on the website of, hey, I'm doing this here today. So these all work together. It's partially why I drew this as a wheel. That wasn't round for a reason. It wasn't round just arbitrarily because I felt like doing that. It's because all of these pieces go together to make a sum together. And if you don't do all of them and you're missing some of them, it almost becomes detrimental. But if you can kind of get in this, and I'm gonna say, you could easily sound arrogant to people that don't know you. But you gotta kind of just put that down and don't let that discussion bother you. The best advocate for your business is you. And if you're out there touting your business and talking about your business and putting stuff out there on a regular basis, let them call me arrogant. I'm out there saying I am the best there is, and everybody should have that same exact presentation with their own business. You all should feel like you're the best. Her first, then you. Go ahead.
So you talked a little about doing the content for the website.
Mhm.
You recommend also doing sending those articles out like email blasts?
You can if you want with a link back to your website. You absolutely can.
Okay.
I'm fine with that. Middle row back there. You had a question?
Yes, I had a question based on, you said
you the website, but you also mentioned blog, so can you, expand on the blog versus posting to like a page, is that what you're talking about? as far as
Yeah, okay, so
changing the
this
page?
gets a little bit tricky, and this is something that vacillates, okay? So it depends on what bipolar mood Google got out of bed with that day as to what their opinion is. Right now, it's, the pages of your website should be well-written, but they should be somewhat few and far between, meaning that if I have a services page, I wanna explain each of those services, but if I wanna talk about 10 reasons to pick me for a moving company, that probably needs to be a blog post. All right, so I'm gonna tell you to lean more towards blogs. If you could theoretically run the entire content out of a blog and be okay.
Okay, so
All
that
right.
would get you credit for.
It'll get you credit. It's not gonna put the structure of the website together right, but again, this is a almost 2 hour, what have we been here, an hour class, so I can't get into the do's and the don'ts and the ways and the that's part of the reason we have all these other classes, because how I structure this together is what makes that work, but in lieu of that structure, if all you did is put pages on the blog, you still could be enough okay to get away with it. Okay, is that kinda,
Okay.
I know that's, at one point, everything was pages, and then Google, the blog was an afterthought. Now the blog is important, and pages need to be evergreen content that would just stay there. And this starts to get what is where, do I take pages down, do I put pages up? It just gets very difficult. All right, what other question do we have? Because we now have 15 minutes. I'm gonna give her and then come back to you. Go ahead.
Video, putting video on your site, I've heard that that's one of the number one things.
Yeah, I need you, and that's kind of what I'm saying, like, okay, so this video, I'm gonna go in and I'll bracket out a piece of it and take it. And then I'm gonna write something about what I'm saying that is an article, that's not, or a blog post. It's not gonna be a standalone, and I'm gonna give you an example of something, and this is the way to do this. If you go to SEO 411 on there in the blog, I have a video that I made for the Houston West Chamber of Commerce and the Houston Northwest Chamber of Commerce that talks about why any business needs to have a Chamber of Commerce membership if they wanted to be in the maps. It's a 7-minute video. You don't have to watch a video. I actually have a write-up that I could take the video off that page and that page could stand by itself. Those two things are not equal. They don't say the same thing. So you'll get something out of the blog, you can get something out of the written article, but that's how it should be. Video, and then a written article that talks about that video or that's relevant to that video. It's kind of where I was saying, don't use the transcript. The natural inclination is to keep coming back and using the transcript. Let's not do that, okay? So, all right, so does everybody understand the procedure on that? Okay, go ahead.
Blog length. In a previous workshop that I had attended, you had said maybe 900 to 1,000 words per blog. Is that still what Google is demanding?
Yeah, and I'm actually got some that are 1,800 words now.
Ooh-wee.
Yeah, but if you know your topic and you know what you're talking about, the days of a 500-page blog. So here's the thing. I'm going to give you kind of some bullet points to do that. 10 tips to do this, 3 tips to do that, and then explain them. And I used to teach that if I could take something and it could be a separate page of content, make it a separate page of content. But the reality now is if I say 3 ways to post a page in WordPress, and I wrote those 3 ways, theoretically those should be 3 separate pages, but now I'm gonna make them 1 page to get my word count up to the 1,200 to 1,500 I've got some that run all the way out as far as 2,000 and 3,000 words. So it is what it is. I just put one up on the 5 main churches of Italy that you don't hear about. Okay, each and every one of those could have had their own page written about them. Instead, we took the top 5, we wrote a little summary about them, we put some bullet points about them, we put a picture of them, and we put them all in one post 2,200 words. So there's ways to do that. I don't know that I think it's better or worse. It's just what they say. You could come back next week and we could be back to 200-word posts. I don't see it happening, but we could be there. When he started, it was 350 words. We're now all the way up to 1,500 words. Go ahead.
Just tagging on there, when you're doing your post, because you kind of talked about 3 churches, which I don't know that relates to your business at all, or 5. Sorry,
I was
5
on the
churches.
Italian travel site, was talking about 5 churches.
Okay, so when you're doing your blog, it needs to
relate to your business.
Yes, so, one I did just to.
Threw me completely.
Okay, I didn't mean, I was on the Italian travel site, no. Okay, so the last one that I put up that I actually wrote myself, and like I said, I've gotta sit down and focus and get one of these done recently and more thing. But I had somebody come up to me and call me on the phone and said, I'm giving a presentation on social media in 15 minutes, can you give me talking points? I was like, okay, so I sat down and went, brrr, in the middle of cooking dinner, brrr, and kicked out 7 points, put it on my blog, and off it went. I wrote it in a way for her that I could repurpose it. If I'm gonna, so answer your emails in a way that you can take and make a blog post. It's really not all that hard when I put it that way. Are you tiptoeing behind me because I have to stop? Okay. All right, go ahead. One last question.
She looks so wanting of
I do.
information.
Go ahead.
So, I've read that there are like websites that you can search to get keywords that, like you can see how many people are searching a specific keyword for your
Yes.
business.
All right.
Do you recommend that or no? Like using those?
Yes,
keywords?
I kind of do, because if you pick the wrong keyword, we have a really bad habit of this, okay? We call something that we do what we call it, but the rest of the world may not actually call it that. So we're better off to make sure we understand. Google AdWords, don't put a credit card in, but you can utilize their data for free, and I would say that would be a good place to start.
Okay.
Okay, but do not put a credit card in. I did that the first time, and I put $100,000. Thank God they knew I was kidding, because I put $100,000 and they could have ran it right up through the roof. So don't put a credit card in. Just be on the safe side. That's the best way not to hurt yourself. Okay. All right. Go ahead.
Oh gosh, no daggers, please.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Well, I guess you want to know more, right? So we will be having Beth at our seminar series in April in Sci-Fair. So we conduct these seminar series. You don't know that yet, but you just learned.
Okay. She'll be in Sci-Fair in April.
She'll be at Sci-Fair in April. And so also at Sci-Fair in April, and that's at our Sci-Fair campus at Barker and West Road. All of you are now on our email list. You can opt out, but you don't want to. So you can hear about the upcoming seminars we have, but we'll be having another seminar series in the Sci-Fair campus that's not related to the Great Eastern Women's Chamber, but it is available to you, and Beth will be there speaking as Beth does. I don't even give her a topic, she just does her thing. Also, Michelle Guerra is the only person who raised her hand on podcasts, right? How many of you are interested in that?
Yeah.
All right, so stay tuned. She will also be speaking at our seminar series in Sci-Fair. They're at the same time, same bat channel, just a different bat location. And you can plug into our Facebook page at Lone Star College Small Business Development Center on Facebook, and you can hear about what is upcoming. At this point, what I want to do is give Winter Patterson an opportunity to introduce herself to you, as she's going to be the advisor in your area.
Thank you, and Beth, you did a great job.
Thank
I was
you.
over there taking notes. So again, as Karen said, I am the advisor here at the North Harris location. I work with small business owners. As long as you are for-profit with 500 employees or less, we can sit down and we can put together a plan, a strategy for your marketing, for the things that we discussed here, for how to grow your business, how to get a loan, all of those things. We get you prepared to get ready to go before your lenders and things of that nature. So I would be happy to be a resource for you. As Karen mentioned, we also have data that we can pull and people that we can get you referred to. So I'll be here, over here, I have my business cards. I meet by appointment, so we can schedule appointments. I have my phone here, so we can schedule appointment if you like. But I look forward to helping you in any way that I can. Look at me as your resource here at the Greens Point location. So, thank you.
Thank you, Winter. You'll be in great hands with Winter. And now we want to introduce Brenda James with Brenda James LLC. Brenda does staffing solutions. She has years of experience in this industry. Brenda James is